Hello everyone, welcome to another FPL video. In today's video we're going to take a look at my FPL Game Week 21 team selection. In this video we're going to do a little bit of future planning for a wildcard draft that I am currently working on as I look at the possibility of actually activating my wildcard in Game Week 21. We're also going to take a look at a few predictions I have for the game week and then also talk about how my team fared in Game Week 20. Welcome back guys, FPL.CARNAGE here. Firstly, I just want to apologize for this video coming out a bit late. I know it's the day of the deadline, but I'm going to be honest, I'm not really feeling up to it. But I just had to do my best to get this video up and out there before the deadline. So the aim for this video is again 200 likes. And if you've enjoyed this video and you haven't already, please consider subscribing as you watch this video on the channel. Now, going into my Game Week 20 review, my team scored 57 points in Game Week 20. Decent enough return to put me back on the green arrow. A real move up in the ranks as well. I had double Arsenal defense, Raya in goal, Gabriel as well. Raya returning just 1 point. Gabriel with a really costly defensive mistake in the game against Bournemouth, but he got the equalizing goal in that game. Also picked up DEFCON points to return 9 points in the game against Bournemouth. I had O'Reilly as well in my defense, as well as Guehi, both returning 2 points. It was unfortunate for O'Reilly to lose out on his clean sheets in the very last minute of the game against Chelsea. Prior to that, he was on for a 9-pointer as well. Guehi picked up DEFCON points and returned 2 points. Goodmanson 2 points as he came off the bench for Yakub Minte, who couldn't feature in the game for Brighton against Burnley. Onto my midfield, Cunha finally getting an attacking return with a goal and a couple of bonus points in that game against Leeds to give Man United a draw in that game. Rodgers picking up an assist as well in their fixture. Saka coming off the bench against Bournemouth and getting an assist as well. And Foden yet with another blank in that game against Chelsea to return 2 points. Honestly, it's been a little bit slow and frustrating for Foden owners at the moment. I think that makes it 3 blanks in the last 4 or last 3 games. He hasn't returned since his last double figure haul, which is quite frustrating for his price tag. But we'll talk about that when we look at my Game Week 21 team selection. And up top, Haaland, captaincy, another disappointing return, hasn't returned in his last 3 games. And Thiago, a really great haul for his owners with a hat-trick and 3 bonus points to return 17 points in that game against Everton. Honestly, that was one I didn't expect, but kudos to managers who held off on selling him to Ekitike. He also has a great game fixture rather coming up in Game Week 21, so really pleased to have him in the team. On my bench, Dubravka also returned 1 point. Minte, who didn't feature, returned 0 points. Haven and Krupi Jr. both returned 4 points and 5 points respectively. My team, I took a -4 going into Game Week 20, so that's 53 points all out, but still enough to get a green arrow up to 2.4, and hopefully we continue to climb from there. I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot of fixture congestions after this midweek fixture. So yeah, hopefully the game settles, the dust settles, and we can continue to progress upwards from here. Now, speaking about my Game Week 21 team selection, I did mention at the beginning of the video that I was working on a possible wildcard draft because I am considering activating my wildcard going into Game Week 21. So this is the draft that I have at the moment. And I honestly do love this draft because I've done a little bit of future planning on this draft, and I don't see myself making a lot of changes, maybe just a few tweaks here and there before the deadline. So I'm honestly pleased with this current draft I have. In goal, I've kept Raya, but that is one I have and I'm keeping my eye on just because I think I would also not mind owning a Chelsea keeper. That's Robert Sanchez, right? Although he wasn't fit enough for the game against Man City, I think he may pass a late fitness test to feature in the game against Fulham. It's not an ideal own, but I am just planning ahead. Like I said, they have a couple of tough, well, not tough per se, but a couple of, we describe them as difficult, you know, derby games coming up before their fixture run turns in game 24. So I don't actually mind having him up until that time when the fixtures turn. So I have Raya at the moment, but I am strongly looking at going Sanchez in goal. In my defense, I have Chaluba, Gabriel, and Tarkowski. Chaluba at the moment would move. If I do decide to move to Sanchez from Raya, I would go to Timber and double up on Arsenal defense. I really like the idea of owning two Arsenal defenders, probably the two best Arsenal defenders in Timber and Gabriel. Arsenal are still the best, still have the best defense in the league, possibly in Europe as well. And although their fixtures may seem a bit difficult in the coming game weeks, there's still possibility of attacking returns for said defenders, DEFCON points, and even possibility of clean sheets. So I don't mind having them, having been doubled up on them, right? So if I do go Sanchez over Raya, I will most likely go Timber over Chaluba. But for now, Chaluba is in that draft. Tarkowski at home to Wolves. We know how much of a DEFCON beast Tarkowski has been. He also gets in there for goal returns every now and then. So I have him at home to Wolves, and Gabriel, of course, who has returned 2 goals in his last 2 games since he returned from injury, at home to Liverpool. Liverpool, I think currently are on top for most goals conceded from set pieces in Europe. It's going to be a really, really good game to watch, in my opinion. I think Arsenal get a win in this game. Liverpool haven't really looked like themselves from the game against Fulham, the game against Leeds. I think Arsenal could even come away from this game with a possible clean sheet. So this is how my defense would line up, which just raises the appeal for the likes of Timber, right? And then onto my midfield, I have Bruno Guimaraes, who is currently Newcastle's highest goal scorer in the Premier League with 7 goals. We also know what his record is like at home for Newcastle, so he's going to be my first midfielder at home to Leeds. Cunha retains his spot in my team away at Burnley, but he is one that I'm most likely going to move away from after this game week, because he has a couple of tough fixtures coming up, with Man City and Arsenal being his next 2 after Burnley. So I am just keeping him for one more game week, which is the fixture against Burnley. And I have moved away from Foden to Ryan Cherky just because he's a cheaper option, and I think Cherky is still a really decent option and an enabler into the City attack, right? Now Foden has a brilliant record against Brighton, so it doesn't seem ideal moving away from him right before that fixture. And he also has a good record against Manchester United, the next 2 teams he's playing. But this move just enables me have some money in the bank for when Bruno is deemed fit enough, so that I can get him back in my team, and the likes of Declan Rice as well. So I don't mind taking the risk to go for a downgrade to Cherky. He also has most chances created for Manchester City in the last 6 games. So yeah, I love the idea of having Cherky in this team. Gordon is my 4th midfielder at home to Leeds. I have decided to attack the Leeds fixture. It is a home game. Newcastle are really, really good and a formidable side to face at home. They got the job done against Crystal Palace over the weekend, and I think they will get the job done against Leeds. I decided not to go for a Newcastle defensive asset just because I believe Leeds have been on good goal scoring form in past game weeks, and Newcastle may not come away from this game with a clean sheet, but I do think there's a high possibility of a lot of goals from this game. And Gordon is a nice pick, seeing as Elanga is out injured and Murphy is undergoing a hamstring scan from presses that we saw. So Gordon looks a bit nailed for this fixture, in my opinion. And then up top, I'm keeping Haaland at home to Brighton, who's also going to be my captain. Honestly, if we don't see a return from Haaland, we have to begin to ask questions of, whether we begin to look elsewhere in terms of captaincy picks. But he is going to be my captain going into this game. It's a home game. He has a decent enough record against Brighton, so let's see what he can produce for us in that game. Thiago retains his spot as well in my team at home to Sunderland. Sunderland have been a really decent side so far. They did lose a couple of players to AFCON, but they have still been able to hold their own with back-to-back draws against the likes of City and Tottenham in the last 2 games. This could still be a close tie, but Thiago, coming off the back of a hat-trick, would boost his confidence going into this game. So I back him to still get an attacking return in this game. And my 3rd attacker is going to be Jared Bowen, who has a brilliant couple of games coming up. He has Forest in the fixture today It is a must-win game for West Ham. Also, Nuno's job is currently on the line. I think the players are going to put in their very all. Bowen is nailed on 90 minutes. He's guaranteed starter. Even if they do lose the game and Nuno gets sacked, you are guaranteed that he is going to keep his spot in the new manager system, and we may see a new manager bounce for him if Nuno gets sacked. So I don't mind owning him for the next 4-5 game weeks. Couple of decent fixtures for him. So yeah, Bowen a really good choice and my third attacker. Now I did consider the likes of Ollie Watkins and possibly Morgan Rogers in my midfield, but I still don't trust the idea of either of them in my team, because Watkins isn't really nailed on minutes. 2 game weeks ago, we saw him come off the bench to play just 28 minutes for Villa. Yes, he has been on really good scoring form in the past couple of game weeks, but I still don't trust his minutes, and currently I'm just looking to bring in players into this wildcard team for future game weeks that I am guaranteed on their minutes with also possible returns. Rogers, I feel like maybe it may have been a purple patch. He has generated just 0.29 xg per 90 in the last couple of game weeks, which really means that he's overperforming his xg. So I don't know how I feel about owning him. In game week 20, I was down to either him or Bruno Guimaraes for my pick, and I went him, and Guimaraes scored double his points, right? But yeah, I don't feel comfortable with the Villa assets. Their fixtures are decent enough, but I feel I would rather have Bowen and the likes of Gordon Bruno in my team just for the first this couple of 2-3 game weeks that are coming. So onto my bench, I've kept Dubravka at home to Manchester United. Wilson comes back into my squad at home to Chelsea. He has been a really great asset to own, a really good enabler and a good pick for the midfield assets. He has 93 points so far this season, picked up another goal in that game against Liverpool over the weekend, and he's playing at home to Chelsea, a game where he could possibly get a return as well. Mukiele is my second player on my bench away at Brentford, and Goodmanson, my third asset on my bench. I am also thinking of moving Mukiele into my starting lineup and benching Chalobah, but I just don't know what the game against Brentford is going to look like. But like I said, I want to double up on the Arsenal defense, so if I do that, I may just leave Mukiele on the bench. But I'm really pleased with the way my team is at the moment. I have 0.9 in the bank at the moment. If I do, revert to the likes of Timber and Sanchez in goal, that gives me 1.3 million cushion in the bank to make any move I see fit. Bring in the likes of Bruno, also creates enough room to bring in the likes of Palmer from game week 24 or 23 when their fixtures turn as well. So I am pleased with the way my team is looking going into game week 21. My captain, like I said, is on Erling Haaland. My vice captain is on Bruno Guimaraes at the moment. And yeah, I'm pretty much settled on this team. So if you have enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a like. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next FPL video.